Hey there, I'm Kara. Question for you. Have you ever been told you're too young to do something? Maybe you needed to be a few years older to join a group or play a certain sport? Or maybe you weren't tall enough to get on a ride at a theme park. I know how that feels. It's disappointing when you can't do something right now that you really want to do. Waiting for that next growth spurt or phase of life can seem forever away, and it can be hard to wait for something that you're excited for. Sometimes it's hard to wait for God's plan too. God has promised each of us that He has a plan. But what happens when you don't know what that plan is? And you're sitting there asking, what is my purpose? The best place to discover how we can follow God's plan is by looking in the Bible. The Bible is God's true message to us about Himself. In it, we can see how sometimes we have to stand patiently and wait patiently for God's plan to happen. Let's read about God's plan for a man named John, even before he was born. Both John and his family had to wait patiently, not knowing when this plan would happen. Today's Bible story is found in the New Testament, in a book called Luke. Let's check it out. John prepared the way. Luke 1. Zechariah was a man who served in the temple, the place people went to pray to God. Zechariah's wife was named Elizabeth. God knew that Zechariah and Elizabeth obeyed Him and loved Him. They were both old and had waited and prayed for many years to have a child. One day, Zechariah was serving in the temple when an angel visited him. Zechariah was afraid, but the angel told him, "Do not be afraid." The angel was sent by God to tell Zechariah that God planned for Elizabeth to have a baby boy, and they would name him John. This baby was going to be special and do great things for God. Did you hear that? Zechariah and Elizabeth had waited for years for a child, and even though it took a long time, God provided them a son. I'm sure it wasn't always easy to be patient, but God had a plan. Let's see how God's plan for John turned out. Everyone believed that John was a special baby. God told Zechariah to tell everyone that when John grew up to be a man, he would lead people and announce that God's son was coming. When he grew up, John did exactly as God planned. John understood that Jesus was God's son. He waited patiently and told lots of people that Jesus was coming. John lived in the wilderness and traveled around telling everyone how to follow God. God sent John as part of His plan to tell people about His son, Jesus. The people listened to all that John told them. Many people believed the good news about Jesus. Even after Zechariah and Elizabeth waited all those years for a son, the waiting wasn't over. John had to be patient because he had no idea when Jesus was coming. God didn't give him a timeline to share exactly what was going to happen next. All John knew was that Jesus was coming. John had to remember his purpose, to tell others not to be discouraged, but to have hope because Jesus was near. When Jesus arrived, it changed everything. John knew that Jesus was God's son and that He had been sent for a very special purpose. God sent Jesus so that we could know God. When you follow God, you can trust that God has a plan for you, even if you have to be patient to find out what it is. You may not know the plan, but God does. And when you are patient and talk to Him through prayer or by reading the Bible, He will show you the plan He has for your life. God will help you stand patiently and trust in His amazing plan for you.